Hey, what's up, everybody? And you know, that's what's up. Yeah, that's right. That's what's up. That's what's going on over here. Alright, this is about anything and everything. Nothing's off the table. Just kind of want to share with you my thoughts and opinion on things. And you could, come along for the ride with that. You could respond to my response of things that I talk about or observe. And at the same time, I'm trying to bring some common sense to all this stuff, right? That's the only reason why I like to talk about this stuff, because some of this stuff just bothers me. And I think when you talk about it and you bring some common sense to it, you're just like, oh, you know what? You may be right. Right? And I also invite you guys to share with me anything you think about in the comment section or in my Telegram group on questions or debate topics that you want to talk about. I won't shy away from it. I'll talk about it. All right. So with that, and I'll talk about anything. I mean, look at this stuff: Teslas, gas stations, road rage, Ocean Gate Titan. Right. I'll talk about anything. I don't give a shit. But anyhow, let's talk about today illegal immigration. All right. I know this is like the biggest topics of this upcoming presidential election. All right. And this is big because of what's been going on over the last 3 or 4 years now, of the amount of illegal immigration, illegal migrants that have come into this country. Right, what, 10 million plus? Think about that. That's 10 million plus people extra in this country that the government spent our money and our resources on these type of people that shouldn't even be here in the first place. And then you could debate semantics about, what's legal, illegal immigration and all that other stuff, right? Legal immigration is when you get in line, you do the paperwork process to get in the country, not crossing the border through the southern border, not sneaking through the mountains and all the stuff on the northern border, especially along the New York area, where it's just mountainous terrain, right? None of that stuff. Or shit, here in California, you could cross the border through the little mountainside if you don't want to go through the border entry. It's wide open to cross through the mountain, right? So, but it's not an easy cross, but it's not impossible because many people do it. But yeah, so illegal immigration, to me, when you define illegal immigration, if you cross the border illegally, that is considered illegal immigration because you didn't go through the proper means to do it. And although Biden has, opened up the border to allow, quote unquote, migrants to come into the country, the means of doing that has been improper. All right, because it doesn't filter through the process of, for example, criminals, for example, different countries. It just allows everybody to come through. All right. So, why am I talking about illegal immigration today? Because a couple things I wanted to bring about just for you guys to kind of examine what border, security is and what's upcoming. All right. Because a little birdie says that Kamala might visit the border. Why is she visiting the border? All of a sudden, right? She's going to be in Arizona. All of a sudden, she might make a visit to the border, right, in Arizona. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But let's take a look at two bills. All right, two bills on the table. One is on the table that was passed by the House and sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk, which is he's the Senate Minority Leader, I believe. And you have this other border bill that was shot dead on arrival, shot down because the Republicans said, nah, this is not a bill. And they accused Donald Trump of calling up all the Republicans saying, hey, say no to this, all right, to cause this sort of back and forth debate on, you know, illegal immigration. So throughout all this time, when Biden says, oh, I can't reverse executive action, I can't do all this executive action, the bill is on the desk. All you got to do is pass the bill, and then we'll be good, right? And of course, that didn't happen when the Republicans didn't take that bluff, right? They said, "Nah, we're not going to pass this shit, all right? And you can shove it, Biden, right?" And then what did Biden do? Put out executive action to do something about the border. So we'll talk about that a little bit more on the other end of these notes here, all right? So I'm going to bring you bill number one. All right, so bill number one here, I won't say specifically what bill this is yet. I want to read the details of it for you guys to think about, right? And I'll read the second bill because they're both, different bills on, the what is being proposed, right? These both are being proposed. And I want you guys to compare and tell me, what do you think sounds better? All right? And then from there, we could talk about it on the back end here. All right, so with that, this is the first bill. This bill would create funding for border barriers and enforcement personnel while dismantling current practices that would leave pressure on the U.S. border communities. It would reestablish the Trump-era border policy, including restarting construction on the border wall, requiring the Department of Homeland Security to create a plan to meet benchmarks for 200 miles of construction each year. Reinforce an unrealistically narrow definition of operational control and prevention of all unlawful entries into the U.S., including terrorists, unlawful aliens, instrument of terrorism, narcotics, and other contraband. Requires the HS Secretary to incorporate physical barriers, infrastructures, and technologies to achieve awareness and control of the U.S. border. Increase the number of Border Patrol agents to at least 22,000. I don't know what the current number is right now. I wonder if I could pull that up. Let's see. I want to pull this up right now. Current number of Border Patrol agents. There we go. Let's see. So 19,357. That's as of fiscal year 2022. And then what did they say they bring it up to? To at least 22,000. All right, so give or take, let's just say 3,000, because you're going to have some of it that fall off. So let's just round it to 19,000, and they want to increase it to 22,000. So 3,000. All right, we'll say 2,500 to 3,000 Border Patrol agents. All right. Prohibit the use of U.S. Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, air and marine operation resources to transport non-citizens who will not be detained in the country's interior. So we're not going to use boat or airplane. That's from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection to transport non-citizens detained in the country's interior. Okay. Build an Operation Stone Garden to operate $110 million per fiscal year for grants to law enforcement agencies working with U.S. immigration authorities near the U.S. land and maritime borders. Okay. Require U.S. Patrol to pull together a strategic plan in providing border community stakeholders, hospitals, farmers, all this stuff. All right, I won't skip through. Let me read this again. Such as hospitals, farmers, ranchers, property owners, victims of crimes done by undocumented immigrants, and others negatively impacted by illegal immigration. Pull funding for processing non-citizens who have entered the U.S. between ports of entry. Bar funds from being dispersed to NGOs. All right. And NGOs is non-governmental organizations, so a lot of them is like supposedly religious affiliated organizations and all these charitable organizations that say they care about, the people that are coming over the border and all that stuff. So they're going to no longer fund them, and it's defined as in law and to include unlawful entry, facilitating transportation, lodging, or immigration and legal services. All right, so they're going to deny all that to NGOs. So they can't transport them, they can't house them, they can't provide services for them, basically. Restrict the use of documents provided by DHS, such as notices to appear and work authorizations as valid IDs at airport security checkpoints. Wow, that's crazy. So some people don't even technically have IDs, and they use appear and work authorization documents to say this is me. Right? They probably have like maybe some whatever country ID to match the letter, but still that's not the same as an ID to match the. But they don't. Well, just like it says, they're saying as valid ID, so they're just bringing this paperwork with no ID, saying this is me. And how many of those have been printed off? Wow, that's crazy. Limit the CBP1 phone app and other similar platforms to only be used for the inspection of perishable cargo, barring its use for scheduling immigration interviews at ports of entry. Wow, I mean, that's a big difference there. All right, mandate government reporting on migration-related economic and security ramifications. States and municipalities along the U.S.-Mexico border, including law enforcement, school districts, health providers, farmers, ranchers, and it's cut off there, it doesn't say. And I guess the last one is defund an alternative to detention case management program and CBP's shelter services program. All right, so you have that, right? So that's bill, this first one, right? Let's go to the second bill here. So what would this bill do? The second bill would trigger authority called the Emergency Authority, would enable administration to summarily deport migrants who enter between ports of entry without permitting them to apply for asylum. The new Emergency Authority could be activated if border encounters reach an daily average of 4,000 over a period of 7 days, and would become mandatory once border encounters reach over 5,000 over a period of 7 days or 8,500 over a single calendar day. However, there are several other rules governing the use of emergency authority, rendering it much less straightforward than the simple mathematics of crossings. So this is a discretionary authority at 4,000 per day level, would in fact be mandatory for the first 90 days at the level of passage. In addition, the bill defines encounters to exclude apprehensions of unaccompanied migrant children. So the number can fluctuate, but it seems like the number of 4,000 to 5,000 encounters over the period of 7 days, or 8,500 on a single day. All right, then they would essentially close the border. Then there's a discretionary part there to that. It's discretionary, all right. But along with that discretionary of closing it at those numbers, children that has the unaccompanied migrant children don't count. Okay, so they don't count. So they could just come in here as an orphan, all right, and they don't count. The bill gives federal government discretion over exactly when to implement this new emergency summary deportation process and does not require to be publicly announced. So they could just let a shitload of people in regardless, and then decide, you know what, we're going to close it now. This hits the number, but they're not going to make an announcement of it. So the upshot is this: any given day, a would-be asylum seeker would have no idea whether they would be allowed to seek asylum in the U.S. or not. Yeah, because they could just be like the next in line. Let's just say 5,000. So 5,001. Oh, sorry, we closed the gate. Boom. Right? The government would be allowed to opt out people out of summary removal for a variety of reasons, including operational constraints such as overcrowding. Non-Mexican unaccompanied children would also be exempted. So again, any children that's not Mexican. So now they're kind of splintering this up here a little bit. So non-Mexican unaccompanied children. So again, if it's an orphan or lost kids and they're not Mexican, then they don't count. They could just come through. Those set for summary removal will receive a screening for non-asylum humanitarian protection. If they are affirmatively manifesting fear of persecution or torture, volunteering without prompting that they fear return or showing an obvious sign of fear. Well, shit, anybody can do that. People would be deported under this authority, could be sent to their home countries, or if the Mexican government is willing to accept them, sent to Mexico instead. A second deportation under emergency authority would trigger a 1-year bar from obtaining a visa. So if you were deported, supposedly, you'll just be barred for a year. But again, how would they track that unless they somehow put something to track you? But all they're going to do is just look at IDs and names, and if you don't match the name that's on the list of being barred, because you could just go in with a different name, right? Let's see. Crucially, the emergency authority does not close or shut down the border. It does not prevent unauthorized migration entirely. They cannot prevent people from crossing between ports of entry at all. Alright. Furthermore, the bill requires the government to allow people to seek asylum at ports of entry, and it requires the government to maintain capacity for 1,400 daily entries in this manner. So you have that. Alright, so let's just take some quick bullet points. Alright, so here they're saying border wall. Alright, they would say here operational control and prevent all unlawful entries into the United States. So that would be including terrorists, unlawful aliens, instruments of terrorism, narcotics. That's like everybody. Literally, unlawful alien. That's everybody. Alright? Because I would think that this means if you're coming to the border and you don't have the paperwork to come, you're considered an unlawful alien. The Department of Homeland Security is supposed to erect barriers. Okay? They're going to increase the number of Border Patrol agents to 22,000. So that's, remember we talked about 2,500 to 3,000. Let me see if they talk about anything to do with increasing. Yeah, it's not really mention anything about increase. I thought there was somewhere in there about increasing Border Patrol agents. Right, another, I think, or didn't Kamala claim that it was going to send or hire an additional 1,500 Border Patrol agents? I believe that's what she said. That she was claiming that this bill would do, but I don't know. I don't see that detail in it. But even if that's the case, still 2,500 to 3,000 coming from HR2. Oops, I let the cat out of the bag on that one. That would be what is being said here. So there would be a plan to put together something to the tune of aiding communities affected by illegal immigrants, right, or undocumented immigrants that were, crimes committed by them or negatively impacted by this, which is everybody. It's everywhere. Border community stakeholders, so hospitals, farmers, property owners, victims of crime. That's everybody. All right. Pull funding on non-citizens who have entered the U.S. between ports of entry. All right. Barring NGOs from doing anything. Gotta have ID. You can't just come in with the document and say, "Here, this is me." Changing what the CBP One phone app does. Instead of scheduling immigration interviews, which is backed up like 5, 6, 7 years out, they're going to use it for something else. And defund an alternative detention case management program and CBP's shelter service program. So they're going to defund that and make it, this is where you're going to be housed, take it or leave it. All right, if you do make it through. So, yeah, there. All right, sorry, I let the cat out of the bag. This is HR 2. Other pieces of this side, which is the Democrats' version of a bill. So they talked about restricting entry, but not stopping entry. Because once they trigger these numbers, like the 5,000-ish to cross, then they could stop it for 7 days or whatever. But kids don't count. All right. Let's see. Changes the detention and alternatives. So let's see here. ICE will keep at least 50,000 detention beds available. So that increases the number. Okay, so that's a positive there. A path to citizenship for Afghan evacuees and allies. Shit. Let's see. First increases to legal immigration since 1990. So they're going to widen allocation of additional immigrant visas and green cards to expand legal immigration to the U.S. Well, if they file the proper paperwork, then that'd be fine. Congressional funding for officers and lawyers for kids that come in illegally unaccompanied kids. This border, what would it not do? It would not resolve the millions of immigrants in the U.S. without legal status. Well, if they weren't here in the first place, then they wouldn't be in this problem. But anyhow, so you see the two different bills, right? The one that was proposed last year sitting on Schumer's desk, the one that was proposed earlier this year that they blamed Trump for shooting down. All right. Doesn't this one sound way better? HR 2, doesn't that sound better? I think it does. All right. I think it's should have been passed, but of course Democrats, they don't get nearly talked about enough about how this the details of this is way better, right? If you want to stop illegal immigration, this is how you stop it, passing this bill. But it's not talked about enough how Democrats are balking at this when they should be passing this bill. Here does not solve the problem at all. It only allows them in, stop it temporarily, and then, okay, let's open it back up and keep it going. And the thing about this, too, is that it's discretionary decision making, is what the details said here, right? So you could just use your discretion and say, we'll let some more in, we'll let some more in. Oh, okay, maybe we'll stop here, right? They're not going to stop it at under that number. They're going to stop it way above the number. And who is to say that they wouldn't put executive action to, claim some sort of emergency to continue to leave it open and justify some bullshit to say, hey, this is why we're leaving it open, even though we've already hit our number for the day or for the week. and they're going to use some stupid executive action to justify it. So, why am I talking about this? Because on Friday, all right, Kamala Harris is coming to Arizona, and this is a hot topic about illegal immigrants. Look at this: illegal immigrants up 22% in New Mexico. All right, so with this, all this going on, and they're not just illegal immigrants from Mexico anymore. It used to be like that, but it's not like that anymore, right? It's the world coming in through the border, and no one's stopping it. That's the problem. And Kamala is going to visit Arizona. She says she might make a trip to the border, which I think she will, because she's trying to save her election right now. And she doesn't visit the border. One, it's a double-edged sword, because when she visits the border, she is acknowledging that there's a border issue, right? But if she doesn't visit the border, then people are going to think you don't care. So it's a double-edged sword. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. Sucks. But the bottom line is illegal immigration is a problem. All right, and look at all this stuff happening here. Illegal immigrant accused in a failed hit and run. Right, killed the officer here while he was doing a traffic stop. Dude slams into him, boom, and he's still alive, but officer, died from that DWI that they charged this guy. Sucks, right? Then of course you got Laken Riley, various people that have been killed by illegals. And the thing about it is though, would they still be alive doing their normal daily life activities had it not been illegal immigrants in this country? I would think so, right? And why is it that illegal immigration, they're given everything, right? Place to live, documents, food, everything that you need to live in this country, right? Stuff that they probably never got in their own country. I mean, it's too bad, right? It's just the life we live, right? If we didn't choose to live the life we live, you could kind of take control of that, but you can't rely on a government to really support you, right? In that sense. Maybe a little bit of assistance if you're on hard times. And I understand that you're coming from a country that maybe had been restrictive, could be, whether it's socialism, could be communism, whatever it is, right? Dictators. It is what it is. But we can't be here serving the world, all right? Because that's what's happening over here. Sorry about the circumstances, but we can't be serving everybody. Not with our money. We worked our ass off, and we're paying for everybody. And that's a big problem. But anyhow, Harris has a problem because how's she going to spin it? She's going to say, oh, well, Biden did it. I didn't have any control over it, even though she was the border czar. All right? But the thing about it is that she has a problem, and she's going to lose this problem because it was under the Biden-Harris watch when this happened. Plus, all her views about how she defines illegal immigrants, what she has done for them, all the different things, right? She doesn't want to charge them for anything, even though it is a crime to cross the border illegally, technically, right? I don't know how it's not a crime, but all right, whatever. And she has a big problem, essentially. So, with that, I just want to bring that to your attention here because she's going to be in Arizona. I'm going to say she will visit the border because she's trying to define the election here, right? Of what she's trying to attempt to stand for. But she's had 3 to 4 years of doing it, which she hasn't done. She just kind of allowed it to happen to supposedly investigate root causes and all that other shit. Even though she's the border czar and supposed to be in charge of the border. All we gotta do is find the damn tape, because we all know we heard the tape before when Biden said he appointed her as the border czar. Alright. And so she's in charge of the border. I'm telling you, there's a tape out there. I've heard it. But anyhow, just wanted to share that with you guys. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Share with me your thoughts about anything and everything. I'll debate with you too. It's fun. Other than that, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay on top of our daily updates, or daily talk, all that good stuff. Thanks, and I'll see you next one.